Talktainment Radio Worldwide Sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Good morning and welcome to Talktainment Radio. I should say good morning, good evening, and good night because we are definitely worldwide, and we can actually prove that now. We have calls and letters from people worldwide listening to this hour of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. As a matter of fact, you are in touch with the Compensatory Concept, and I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is radio the way it should be heard. In a few moments, I'm going to give you the telephone numbers that you can call in, so don't call in before that, and then I will also give you the email address where you can email me your questions. I doubt that I will read them. It depends on the question rotation. Planning on doing sometime in May. Sometime in May, we are going to have what we call a compensathon. And what that is, we will announce when the Neely Fuller, or rather the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. will go one time for 2 hours. And what we will do, in addition to the questions, we will have you call in and pledge on the air, which will be a one-time deal so that we can get the funding together so that we can do the show. That idea was brought forth, and I thought it was a good idea. Management thought it was a good idea, and so that's what we're going to do. So we will announce it sometime in May is what I understand, where the Compensatory Concept will go for 2 hours. It is what you wanted, and this is what we're going to do. And all you have to do is call in with your pledge, and we'll do it one time, and then I don't have to sit in here and read all this information, and we can get right to more of your questions, and, man, that'll be a real good thing. And speaking about that, for those who are listening now, you can do this for the Compensatory Concept for the 2-hour programming. You need to write to the K&E World Network. That's the letter K and the letter E, World Network, Post Office Box 6184. That is Columbus, Ohio, 43206. You make that money order or bank check payable to the Compensatory Concept. Now, no personal checks, and then, of course, the staff, when we get enough, will email you your receipt, and all donations are final. And the purpose is to extend the Compensatory Concept for and an additional 1 hour, making it a 2-hour program. And our goal is to cover 1 year's worth of programming. So thank you to the many who have called in and or pledged, given their donations. We thank you. We seems like we get more and more each week, but we're going to speed this up because we don't want to keep hammering this, week and week after week, about this. So stay tuned for that, and we'll give you more details on how that's coming. We have Mr. Neely Fuller on the line from Washington, D.C., live from Washington, D.C. Mr. Fuller, how are you this morning?
I'm still learning.
You are still learning. Okay, what we're going to do is we went off last week with a question from Malachi 999. So what I'm going to do is I usually have you go first, but I'm going to put you near the end with your concerns, and we'll go with Malachi's 999 question. And because I did mention that I would read it first this week, so let's go with that. He says, peace, Mr. Bobby. I have a question for Mr. Fuller, and I wouldn't mind your input on it as well, as I respect and appreciate both of you brothers, what you are doing. And I have both Mr. Fuller's books, and they are one of the best investments I've made. And okay, let's see how to word this question. I may need you to paraphrase I grew up learning about Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, and Clayton Powell. I've always had love for my people, but I think the system of racism, white supremacy, is taking a toll on me, and I want to know what I could do to stop that. Sometimes I feel like I can't stand my own people. 90% of the account as I have with my own people is negative and not constructive, to the point where I just spend all of my time with just my wife and children and a handful of friends. I know a few people that are classified as white, and a few of my brothers that I hang out with, the white ones share information, and they appear to be friendly, helpful, and honest. And the black people in my circle, but everyone else seems to be negative, confrontational, dishonest, selfish, and the same thing with so-called Mexicans. For every 10 I may encounter, I have one good experience, and I don't like feeling this way, but it just makes me sick. It just makes me sick. I want my people to be better and conduct ourselves better than the suspected white supremacists. And thank you, Mr. Fuller and Mr. Bobby. Could you please address that? Mr. Fuller?
Yes, sir. Always keep in mind that no people in the entire known universe are the quality of people that people should be. I'm going to repeat that. Always keep in mind that no people in the entire known universe are the quality of people that people should be. No person, not one, when it comes right down to individual persons, no person, not one person is the quality of person that person should be. I don't care who looks up to the person or who looks down on the person. Whoever's doing the looking is not a quality person. You don't have any quality people on this planet, period. Period. Not one. This has been said before by many theologians and whatnot. I mean, preachers preach this all the time, but they preach it within a certain context of a certain religion most of the time. But I'm not talking about traditional religion. I'm talking about, you can just look at the turmoil that the world is in. That itself, particularly within the system of white supremacy, and there's just one major system that really counts on this planet, and that's the system of white supremacy that's designed to produce non-quality people, including the white people, not all white people, but those white people who have chosen to participate in the practice of racism.
Mm-hmm.
They are not quality people, and their victims are not quality people. Why? Now, let me give the basis for all of this.
Okay.
These statements that I'm saying is because you cannot have quality people in a non-quality system. And the system of white supremacy is not a quality system. Why? Because it's designed to thrive on mistreating people. Racism itself. Am I still online here?
You are still online.
Oh, okay. Racism itself is a non-quality system. So you can't have quality people. That's just the mechanics of it. It's impossible to have quality people in a non-quality system. You have to have a quality system in order to have quality people. Now, the person might have the best of intentions. Intentions don't make you quality. They're the seed bed for you becoming quality, but you actually have to eliminate a non-quality system in order to be a quality person. And you are becoming a non-quality person only when you are seeking to eliminate that non-quality system and replace it with a quality system, which in this case would mean replacing the entire system of white supremacy with the system of justice and correctness. And that means guaranteeing justice and correctness means guaranteeing that no person is mistreated, no things are misused and whatnot, and that the people who need help the most gets the most constructive help.
Yes, sir.
People have to be constructive people in order to be quality people.
That's
you
correct.
can't have people who are 100% constructive in a non-quality system. You can do some quality things, but that won't make you a quality person because you're still in that non-quality system.
Yes.
So don't get frustrated when you're around people who are highly contaminated, because you yourself are highly contaminated. You just don't detect it, but
yes.
It's there.
It's there.
But the other people that you encounter may be more contaminated than you are. But that goes with the system.
Yes, sir.
All of us are contaminated.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't look up to anybody and look down on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You just try to make the system what it should be by replacing this entire system that we have worldwide.
Worldwide, yes, sir. As a matter of fact, on the back of your book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, you have that outline. You said this. You said, regardless of all that has been said or done, the quality of the relationship or ships between white people and black people is and has been a total disaster.
Yes,
alrighty.
And you're looking at a total disaster. Every time you look out your window, you are looking at disaster because people do not interact with each other nowhere close. Even what we call acceptable behavior is nowhere close to what it should be.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Talktainment Radio is a 24/7, no-charge, worldwide broadcasting facility that have hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, wellness, health, religion, politics, and now here's one that I'd like to share with you. Oh, yeah. How about this one? How about Conversate in the AM? Now, Conversate in the AM with Kahari and Mr. Brother Ed, and sometimes the righteous Reverend Peterman going where no show dares to go. Now, join the crew as they bring you provocative, stimulating, and conversation, or rather controversial news from around the world as well as locally. Conversate in the AM, heard daily, 8 to 10, exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. All righty, get near the phone lines because we are going to open them up. They are now open. You may call 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. And, of course, I will put your questions in the question rotation, and then we will answer as they come up. So 1-877-932-9766 is the number you call to get in touch with today's programming, and then we will have Mr. Fuller address your questions. And while we're waiting on the phone call, Mr. Fuller, what would you like to add to the conversation? We normally have you go first, but this time we had you go second. So what would you like to use as a topic for today's conversation?
That was exactly what I was going to be talking about today.
Oh, okay.
As an opening. And but I want to embellish that by saying, because the person who called in wants to know, they say they're frustrated, and it is frustrating, but see, you shouldn't get frustrated because you should expect on this battlefield. The whole world is a battlefield. See, we sometimes think that things are out of order, and they are. But you're born into a system that is completely out of order, and there's no order anywhere in the system that should exist. I don't care where you go on this planet. On account of this system that they have set up, that dominates the thinking of people, and everything starts with a thought, and then from that thought comes the behavior of people. In other words, thought, speech, and action, what people say and do, is all this latent hostility. Everywhere you go, even when it doesn't appear to be that way, because we have become so accustomed to harsh environments that when somebody just says good morning and whatnot, it's almost like a great bell ringing.
Yes.
I mean, hey, where'd that come from? Good morning? Wow. Gee, that's over the top. I mean, somebody's wishing me a good morning, but even the good mornings that we give each other are just loaded with poison, because we are loaded with poison. I mean, we got these frowns on our faces. Everybody's got furrows in their brow, and he's correct in his evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not, insane, and for the reasons that he might think that he's insane. No, we are all insane. And this is the norm, and insanity has been accepted as the norm. Because when you set up a system of government, world government, based on mistreating people for all kinds of reasons, any reasons, it's different reasons. They got tribalism and all this type of stuff.
Yes, sir.
Which are excuses to mistreat somebody. That's all that is when it becomes hostile and people start breaking out the swords and knives and guns and all like that. See, that shows something is that's toxic right there.
Yes, sir. Sorry about that. We're having a few little technical problems. Okay.
So,
alrighty.
So I'm saying I just want to embellish that the person should not despair, because just look at it like you were born on a battlefield. You weren't supposed to be born on a battlefield, but that's the way it is.
That's the way it is.
So you just assume that.
Okay.
So you just put on your battle gear and step out there, because, hey, it's all kinds of stuff going on a battlefield. And it's all very ugly.
Yes,
and every now and then you get a little respite like you do on a battlefield. I've been on one, what you call a classic battlefield, where people wore uniforms and walked around with guns all day and all like that. But you do get a few breaks. I mean, you get a little rest period. I mean, even when you're marching, the soldiers know. I mean, sometimes the sergeant will say, take 10, expect 5, get 2. I mean,
Yeah.
He means take a 10-minute break. Expect to get 5 minutes, but you'll actually get 2.
Just a couple.
All right, and then you'll be marching again. All right, that was an old saying back when I was
in the military. Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, right. See, so, but it's all grueling and all like that, so expect it to be grueling.
Okay.
And if you get any happy moments, that's what you look for.
Yes, sir.
Just look for some moments that you're going to be happy, because there's going to be a firefight breaking out in about 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay, thank you, Malachi 999, for your question. That was your question you asked last week. I didn't get your changes until late. But anyway, let's go to the phone lines. And you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. What is your question?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, gentlemen. I have a question for Mr. Fuller.
Okay, could you speak up, please, sir?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
A question for Mr. Fuller.
Yes.
Mr. Fuller, good morning, sir. If it would not be too personal, I would like to know if you have living offspring, and if so, to your knowledge, do they adhere to the compensatory concept? And it's just a curiosity I have, because I'm 67 years old myself, and I have offspring.
Okay, sorry about that. We're just having a little problems here, but we're working on that. Okay, something about offsprings?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if Mr. Fuller has living offspring, and if so, to his knowledge, if they adhere to the compensatory concept that he espouses.
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
Yes, but I do not speak for any offspring or even relatives of any kind. I do not get them involved in this conversation, and the reason for that is it's the United Independent concept. In other words, each individual, because I always used to say that, you can be born in a crowd, but you die alone, regardless of how many people are standing around your deathbed. You're the only one who's dying, okay? So I'm saying you look at it that way. That's why I call it the United Independence System, that you do not account for other people's behavior. You just account for your own. You center entirely on your own behavior, and that includes the behavior of kin people around you. You can tell them what you think, but that's strictly an opinion. You don't dictate to anybody. I would never dictate to any offspring of mine about what they should or should not do. Now, I'm talking about dictate. Why? For a very logical reason. I always say follow the logic. That's a part of the code, following the logic. First of all, I'm not in charge of them. I'm not in charge of anybody because I'm not in charge of myself. This thing about I'm the head of the household, no, if you're black, you're not the head of anything. You're a prisoner of war. All prisoners are equal. So if a prisoner of war, if a slave on a slave ship has a baby, that baby is not beholden to any rules or regulations or whatever, or dictates for sure, laid out by the slave that had the baby in the hold of the slave ship. Why? Because that slave ship has a master, and the master is white. So what you have is just some people that you cooperate with, or you don't cooperate with if they don't want to cooperate with you. You just ask them, hey, we're all slaves at the bottom of the ship. Some of us are born here, right here in the slave ship. And that's what the entire planet is. You should look at it that way. In the system of white supremacy, you're born in the system of white supremacy. That's a prison system. That's a slave ship for people of color. So what you do is just ask for cooperation. You don't dictate. You don't dictate anything. You find some black males who will say, woman, you tell me, you do what I tell you to do. I'm the man of the house. No, you are not. You're not a man of anything. You're not even a man if you got color in your skin. There's only one man on this planet in the system of white supremacy, and he's white.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your call, caller, very much. Okay, let's go to the lines. Line number 2, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question? Okay, wait a minute.
Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Good morning. It's an honor speaking to you. I had a question. Usually, everything you do involves logic, where you have an emotion or a reaction that white supremacists might use, and you logically counter it. Is there any time where you use emotion to help with the logic, or is emotion taken out of the equation altogether?
Every emotion, some people call it spirit, black people call it soul, but every emotion, every spirit, every what you might call soul-motivated activity is supposed to lead to constructive logic. It's supposed to be attached to constructive logic. What do I mean by that? I mean, whatever you feel, when you get ready to act on your feelings, you're supposed to attach that to something called your brain that works out the details of what you're fixing to do. Why? So that you have a constructive result about what your emotions are leading you to do. Emotions serve a purpose, but emotions are supposed to be attached to constructive logic. The white supremacists have systematically taught black people, in particular, not to use their emotions in a logical way. Do not attach it to any kind of thinking where you plan, because that's basically what logic is, planning to get the result that you are seeking. See, emotions will tell you to jump up and down and scream and yell and curse and fume, like many of us are given to do, all day long, particularly in the Northwestern Hemisphere, who the black people here, the ones that I've had the most experience with, and the ones that I am one of them myself, we are given, under this stress that we're under, to just jump up and down and scream and yell about everything that comes up. cry, scream, yell, kick the dog, knock out the window, shoot somebody, whatever. And then, after we settle down, say, now, I'll do some thinking, now that I've gotten that off my chest. But that's usually too late to have solved the problem. What you have done is really made the problem worse because we gave over to our emotions and did not attach it to logic. The white supremacists like to keep us that way. And we even brag about it. Over a period of decades, we have gotten to the place that we consider that a part of what we call being black. We got a lot of soul. We don't never do any thinking. We throw thinking out the window. Thinking is verboten. Thinking is something to avoid at all times. What you want to do is just let everybody know how you feel. Go in that next office and curse everybody out. Kick the desk. I mean, throw things. Knock everybody's lunch off the table. Use a whole bunch of a string of MFs and about 30 different styles if you can in about 6 seconds or less.
Yes, sir.
Yes. That's what black males in particular and a growing number of black females. And then huff and puff and take a deep breath and sit down and say, now I have accomplished something. When you really haven't accomplished anything except that white boss says, are you finished? Well, you are finished because you're fired.
Wow. Okay. All right. Thank you for your call, caller. The caller that's on the line, hang on, because we're going to do a few things, and then we'll get you on the other side of the break. Mr. Fuller, before we go on our break here, FEMA, I guess, is allegedly going to go to some churches all across the country, believing that it could have something to do with martial law that the entity called the U.S. government plans to impose by the end of the year. Have you heard anything to that effect?
Martial law being declared where?
Martial law. I guess subject may be brought up into the churches, supposedly to have something to do with martial law. I haven't heard of it myself. I'm just wondering, have you heard of such thing, or martial law, or what is martial law?
I have heard about anything, and I'm quite sure that if it comes, it'll be explained at that time. And then we will try to, or should, like what we're talking about in this program, everything should be compensated for in this war, which means things come up all the time. So the thing that you do is try to codify in a compensatory way, meaning making up for what's missing. So if somebody declares some kind of new law of any kind and says, okay, you got to adhere to it, then you start figuring out immediately when you hear about it, what's the best way to go about dealing with it so that you have the most constructive result that works for you. This is what this entire program that we're on right now is about, knowing what to do when anything happens. And usually things happen out of nowhere because somebody planned it while you were asleep. So when you woke up, it hit you right in the face when they had all night to plan it. You don't have any plan at all because you didn't even know it was coming. That's why the white supremacists always blindside you with all kinds of stuff.
That is
foreclosures and whatnot, where they set your stuff out on the sidewalk and you're at work and you didn't even know they were doing it. I mean, you've been hit in the face. Surprises on this battlefield. Always be prepared for them.
Yes.
That's what you mean by the law of compensation.
Yes,
Codify everything.
Yes,
what
sir.
if? So you immediately start figuring out a way, what am I going to do about this, and the best for me.
Okay. TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, and we are visiting or speaking with Mr. Neely Fuller on the compensatory concept. For your call-in, you can call 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. And before we go back into the questions, remember, we are going to have a compensathon. That's right. What that is, and yeah, we created that word. All it simply is we're going to have a 2-hour program sometime in May is what I'm told, maybe near the end of May. And what that is we're going to invite you to call in with your pledges over the air, so we can kick this baby off and get the 2-hour program for the compensatory concept rolling. And it's a great idea. We'll do it just one big time, maybe once a year, probably once a year, and that way all the funding goes through, and I don't have to read the commercial. We can get right back into the programming and all your calls and all your questions. Now, right now, though, you need to do this for the compensatory concept. Write to the K&E World Network. That's the letter K and the letter E, World Network, Post Office Box 6184, Columbus, Ohio 43206, in care of the compensatory concept. No personal checks, but money orders and bank checks, and we will email you your receipt, and all donations are final. We're going to extend the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller for, and also an additional hour, making it a 2-hour program. This is what you wanted. You've been calling for it, so now is your chance to put your money where your mouth is and participate in the Compensathon. Yeah, you heard it first right here, Compensathon. That's here exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com. Here, speaking about martial law, or as the head of government, thus removing all power from the previous executive, legislative, and judicial branches of the government. It usually is in or provide essential services. Martial law can be used by governments to enforce their rule over the public, such as incidents may occur, such as a coup d'etat, which happened in Thailand in 2006 and 2014. So now I don't know myself, and Mr. Fuller, as mentioned, he didn't know either, that they're supposed to be going to churches and mention it. I have no idea about that. This is news to me. But if that's true, then we can work according to the code. Let's go to the phone lines because they are lit. Line number 3. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
I don't have a question, but I'd like to make a comment in the class.
As long as it's quick, because our lines are jumping. Go ahead.
Okay, brother, I'll make it quick.
Okay.
God sends us meat. The devil sends us the cooks. When you can't protect yourself, don't nothing else matter, i.e. the black towns that was destroyed and burned, our black leadership assassinated, all of our inventions stolen, taken away, because you can't protect yourself. Mussolini said, there is a violence that liberates. He said there is a violence that enslaves. Mussolini said there is a violence that is moral. And he said there is a violence. What Mr. Mussolini was saying is that there will be violence, one way or the other. Even when you're trying to get violence off of you, you ain't going to get it off of you with love. Now, as for martial law approaching, you can't expect anything to happen today. But keep this in mind. Black people here, we are the prize. We are the objective. It is all geared towards us. And it's going to be a big explosion at the end. But it's all about us. Don't you ever forget that. It's all about us. Thank you, brother.
You are welcome. All about us. Wow, that is a tremendous statement. The brother just made. There wasn't a question in there, but that was a statement. That was made in there. We are having just a little bit of difficulty, but we're trying to erase that difficulty. If you are on a line, hold on as we attempt to do what we have to do. Sometimes these glitches do come up, but we are trying our best to work it out. That is what the technology does, and even as I speak, we are really doing what we can, to get it on so we can get the program going on as smooth as we can. And that is one of the things when you have live programming, sometimes you do have to improvise to make it seem like everything goes smooth. But trust me, it really doesn't. Line number 2, when we can get you up, but I tell you what, line number 2. Okay, Mr. Fuller, are you there? Okay. Line number 2. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question? Line number 2.
Number 2.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Fuller, and good morning, Mr. Bobby. The first question I have is for Mr. Fuller. Now, in New York City, Peter Liang, which was, the cop. I'm sorry?
Peter, you say Peter Liang?
Peter Liang, the Asian cop.
Okay.
Who was just sentenced yesterday, right? Now, he was sentenced to 5 years probation and 800 hours of community service, which, in my opinion, I feel that wasn't justice at all. So, as we looked in the news, we seen the Asian community come out in droves. Hundreds and thousands of Asians came out to support Peter Liang. And, I find it, peculiar because we still see African Americans still go to the Chinese restaurant. They go to the beauty salon.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the nail shop, and they're all owned by Asians. So the question is, what boycott, like an organized, official boycott to keep black dollars in our pockets and out of their community, would that be sufficient in terms of receiving some sort of justice? And for you, Mr. Bobby, maybe you should set up a PayPal account for everybody who wants to donate to, like, the second hour of your show, like a PayPal account, so it'd be more easy and efficient. So if I wanted to donate some money, I could just go to talk.
Okay, I tell you what, brother, hang on, and we're going to address that. Mr. Fuller, did you hear his question about Peter Liang?
No, I didn't.
Okay, hey, brother, could you repeat that about Peter Liang? We were having difficulty, so that Mr. Fuller can hear that.
Okay, basically, to sum it up, would it be wise for the black community to have a boycott against the Asian community in terms of their businesses, not spending our money with their businesses due to the fact that they came out in droves to support Peter Liang?
And what did he do? What did Liang do?
He killed a young man in East New York, Brooklyn, Akai Gurley.
He killed a young man?
Yes.
Okay.
East New York, Brooklyn,
okay.
Named Akai Gurley. In the staircase.
And you said the Asian community came out in support of him, but we still go to the Chinese restaurants and the Asian community for hair and all the other kind of stuff. And you're saying that, are you asking that we should boycott them or what?
I'm saying, would it be justified?
Okay.
Would we achieve some sort of justice by doing it? Be justified?
Okay.
Would we achieve some sort of justice
by
doing that? Because I feel that he should have had some jail time.
Okay. All right, Mr. Fuller?